Hello friends, as part of today's current affairs, let's discuss current affairs for today. Under prelims topic, we would be looking at the Composite Water Management Index and proposed dam safety bill, including the proposed National Dam Safety Authority. And the editorial discussion that has been appeared in the newspaper with respect to Trump-Kim summit under various editorial heading, that is historical handshake and improbable friendship. And another editorial would be the crimes of few condemn the fate of many, that is with respect to the Rohingya refugees. Let's start with the first topic of today, that is the Composite Water Management Index. So here the news is that the Gujarat is the topmost state with respect to the performance with respect to the Composite Water Management Index, and it is followed by Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka. And while Tripura has emerged as a top performing state under the category of northeastern and Himalayan states, and Jharkhand, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar were the worst performing states. It's just like a news article, news information, but this news is not very relevant in prelims perspective. What is relevant in prelims perspective is which body, which ministry is releasing this index. Here, whether the Ministry of Water Resources or Ministry of Environment or NITI Aayog is the body which is releasing this index. That is very important in prelims perspective. So that is NITI Aayog is releasing the index. After releasing the Healthy States and Progressive India Index, NITI Aayog has came up with the very important tool that is known as the Composite Water Management Index, and this tool can be used to assess and improve the performance and efficiency of the management of water resources. So that's what the point you have to note down and remember. Here the management index is based on the 9 broad sectors with the 28 different indicators covering right from the various aspects of the groundwater, restoration of the water bodies, irrigation, farm practices, drinking water and policy management. Whenever the parameters on which the index is composed is exceeding more than 4 indicators, mostly no need to remember all the 28 different indicators. So you limit your remembering. So which body is releasing this index and what factors mostly the index is based on. And the report classifies the states into 2 categories. That is, the first category is northeastern and Himalayan states, and another category is other states. And the other states, as I mentioned, that the Gujarat is the best performing, while Tripura is the best performing state under the northeastern and Himalayan states, and Jharkhand is one of the worst performing with respect to the management of the water resources. And also mentioned that the Rajasthan and is also emerged as the best performing state with respect to the incremental aspects based on the last 4 years performance with respect to the management and conservation of the water resources. So this is our point of view with respect to the prelims dimension. Next topic is the dam safety bill. So here recently the cabinet has given approval for dam safety bill. So here what is the background for this bill and what are the major provisions of this bill? How these provisions going to improve the safety of the bill as well as the property that is located near to the dam itself. India, we have about 5,200 large dams. Again, we have a very classification of the dams, that is minor, medium, major dams. So minor dam is a one which is having the command area of up to 2,000 hectares. So which is having command area up to 2,000 hectares, and medium dam is a one which is having the command area of 2,000 to 10,000 hectares. And major dam is the one which is having the command area of more than 10,000 hectares. That is a very classification. That is a very static point you have to remember in this aspect. So here there are thousands of medium and small dams in the country, and one of the major aspect that is lacking with respect to dam safety in India is we don't have any integrated standardized mechanism for the protection of the dams. So already you know the issue is with respect to the Mullaperiyar dam. So that's why the cabinet has come with a standardized bill so that the states and union territories could adapt this bill so that we can safeguard the dams located in the country itself. Here the highlights of the bill is that the bill is going to establish 4 important bodies. I could say the National Dam Safety Authority, which is going to be the implementing body, and National Dam Safety Organization. So similar to the National Dam Safety Authority, which is also an implementing body at the state level, and National Committee on Dam Safety, which advises policies and regulations time to time, so that these policies and regulations can be adopted by the authority in the implementation by National Dam Safety Authority. Similarly, there is a proposal for, provision for a state committee on dam safety by the state governments. So these are the provisions of this bill. You just go through the provisions of this bill. So whatever I mentioned is, it's just like summing up. So the bill try to establish the uniform standards, safety of the reservoirs in the country, and the bill proposes that the safety of the dam is the prime responsibility of the owner of the dam. Here the owners may be the private persons, the owners may be the state governments, the owners may be the more than one state. So the bill seeks to establish the national regulatory body, as I mentioned, that is National Dam Safety Authority. Also the bill seeks to constitute national committee. We mentioned that it advises the policies and regulations with respect to the safety of the bill. So now in prelims dimension, prelims aspect, you have to focus the proposed National Dam Safety Authority, and which is going to be a statutory body if the bill is enacted by the parliament. So here the provisions, the major objective of the dam safety has to be kept in mind in prelims dimension. So you just to go through the major provisions of the functions of the safety authority. So right from, it is going to be implementing body, as I mentioned, and it is going to coordinate with the state dam safety organizations, which are also implementing bodies at the state level, and it is going to standardize the procedures so that the dam safety can be achieved. And technical and managerial assistance, the data management, every aspect with respect to the dam safety is also the primary function of the National Dam Safety Authority. So one of the major important that has to be kept in mind is that, which is also very perennial problem between the states, is that the dams which are the dams of one state falling under the territory of another state, which state has to take the responsibility of the dam safety. So that is with respect to the Mullaperiyar Dam, whether the Kerala government is responsible or the Tamil Nadu government is responsible. Here the National Dam Safety would be the responsible authority if the dam is located another state or interstates. So that is the one very important aspect as per the bill. So these are the prelims topic. Let's discuss the editorial discussion. Here the editorials is with respect to historical handshake. As you know that the Singapore summit with respect to the Mr. Donald Trump and Mr. Kim Jong. So in this aspect, what has to be read, what has to be focused while reading itself, and mains answer writing, which aspect you have to write in. So as been repeating again, so don't limit your perspective with respect to the mains answer or one or two aspects. So your answer should be at least 5 different aspects, so that your every aspect would be loaded with relevant content, and so that your answer would be very comprehensive. So that's why I have taken a very comprehensive dimensions and analysis of this editorial discussion, so which has been headed with various heading, right from historical handshake, Singapore summit, the North Korea no longer would be the a threat for America. These are the editorial heading appeared in various newspapers. So here we are discussing the geographical aspect of North Korea and the background for the present summit and the significance of the summit, and what is the outcome of the diplomacy, and what is the impact on India of this summit and the way ahead. These are the different aspects I would be discussing under this topic. Now coming to the geographical aspect of North Korea, so particularly this geographical aspect is very important in prelims dimension. So I could say that this is a Korean peninsula, that is the North Korea and South Korea is known as the Korean peninsula. After World War II, this 38 degrees, that is the 38 degrees northern latitude, has become the international boundary between North Korea and South Korea. Already you know the another very static latitude, that is known as 49 degrees northern latitude, which is the international boundary between United States of America and Canada. Here 38 plus, you just remember 38 plus 11, that is 49, and 49 is the international boundary between America and Canadian. Here the Korean peninsula, that particularly North Korea in our discussion, so is sharing border with South Korea, China and Russian Federation. So this North Korea is a high frequency topic. I have been repeating that. So in prelims we have two types of topics or issues. That is high frequency topics and low frequency topics. In case of high frequency topics, you have to focus comprehensively. In case of low frequency topics, which has been appearing very relevant to the UPSC perspective, you should just limit your preparation at the surface level. That is objectives, functions, major functions, and the topic which is going to be adapted. So that kind of surface level preparation would be very sufficient. So it is a very high frequency topic. That's why you should know very comprehensively pinpoint details of with respect to North Korea. And North Korea is sharing border with China, Russian Federation, Sea of Japan. This is a LOC. This is a LOC. And there is another important strait that is known as the Korean Strait or Strait of Korea, which connects between the LOC and Sea of Japan. That is the geographical aspect. Now coming to the background of this topic. As you know that historically, after World War II, 38 degrees northern latitude has become the international boundary between North Korea and South Korea. And North Korea is mainly dominated by the influence of Soviet Union, and South Korea is dominated by Japan. Entire Korean peninsula was under the control of the Kingdom of Japan. After World War II, it was divided as two countries, mainly North Korea, that is influenced by the communalism, South Korea, that is under the influence of the capitalism. Again, so this Korean War, the same reason is also responsible for the Korean War. So it is known as the first armed conflict during the Cold War, and series of nuclear tests were carried by the North Korea, mainly to having the security of this nation, mainly aiming at South Korea as well as United States of America. And one of the recent nuclear tests is carried in November 2017, and that is known as ARSA 15, which was tested with a range of estimated 13,000 kilometers, and it is very close to developing the capability to target the American mainland. And the response of America is that, so America has increased the military bases, war games with the South Korea, and also increased the number of military bases in Japan as well as South Korea, and try to encircle the whole Korean peninsula so that the North Korea can be curtailed. But many efforts, diplomatically or military exercises, failed to curtail, failed to check the nuclear program of the North Korea. And North Korea is also branded as a axis of the evil, and it is also major threat for the regional stability with respect to, so when it comes to the safety and security of the entire region of Korean peninsula and the surrounding region. And that is the very background for this present discussion. As I mentioned that many steps that are taken with respect to curtailing the nuclear program of the North Korea were failed, but the credit would be given to the recently elected South Korean president, Mr. Moon. He has taken very appreciable act, and so that the North Korea also participated in Winter Olympics, and also North Korea and South Korea joined hands under the declaration that is known as Panmunjom Declaration, and this Winter Olympics and Panmunjom Declaration were become stepping stones for the present Singapore summit, and the hostility has now become hospitality, and the summit is affirmation of the power of diplomacy, and the fire exchange now become the friendship exchange, and then now the talks of nuclearization, now entire atmosphere has turned into the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, and the axis of evil now become the access to the market. So these are the topics that are now become the importance of this Singapore summit, and the outcome of this summit is that it can be read from the joint statement that is released by the Mr. Donald Trump and Kim reiterated that his commitment to complete denuclearization, and North Korea also demands. What are the demands of North Korea in this summit? That is a very underscoring point here. So they were demanding the sanctions that are imposed by United Security Council as well as NATO and America, and lifting the sanctions as in the integration with the global community is the first and foremost demand by the North Korean president. And Trump also responded positively. He expressed that his intention to halt the military exercises with respect to South Korea, and also offered the security to the North Korea, and also promised the sanctions would be lifted as soon as possible. Now coming to the impact on India. What is the impact on India? So that is very relevant to us. India is playing only reactive diplomacy. We are not active diplomacy pursuing with respect to this summit, and we are also declared that Ministry of External Affairs has released a statement appreciating and welcoming the Trump and Kim summit. And also we have the comprehensive economic partnership with the South Korea. And this integration of North Korea with respect to the global space would open India a very possible solutions, so possible economic integration, so that it would be a win-win solution for both the nations. So that is a very limited impact on India, but what is the way forward? So the summit is attracted the global significance, and the way forward is the time-bound realization of the summit commitments. So that is one of the questionable aspect. And the Trump's instability with respect to dealing the global issues, that is also come under this skepticism. And it shall not be another failure of the Iran nuclear deal where the Trump has exited unilaterally, and it shall not be the similar kind of nuclear deal in the future. And it was estimated that in next 3 years, the North Korea maybe how the ways and means so that the complete disarmament of the nuclear arsenal would be destroyed. And the same way, the economic sanctions that were imposed on the North Korea and would be given opportunity to integrate with the global economy. Now coming to the next editorial, that is the crimes of few condemn the fate of the many. And this editorial is with respect to the Rohingya refugees. So here the author tried to explain that the human rights abuses by the ARSA, that is the Arkan Rohingya Salvation Army, and the Hindus in the northern state of the Rakhine is one of the basis for Indian government to safeguard or welcoming or providing the basic amenities with respect to the Rohingya refugees. He tried to explain that the unmindful activities of ARSA and Hindus is also basis for Indian government to deny the rights for the Rohingya refugees, so who fled from Myanmar to the Indian northeastern states. So in this context, we are going to discuss the geographical aspect, so the reasons for the Rohingya crisis and the present situation and India's response to the present crisis and what needs to be done. So these are the multidimensional aspects we are going to discuss with respect to the Rohingya crisis. Has been said that, so this is also one of the high frequency topic. You should know the basics of this topic, and the basics is that right from the geographical aspect. So I could say that the geographical aspect, particularly the prelims dimension, is that, so this Myanmar has been in the news again and again. So you should focus what are the international countries that are sharing with respect to Myanmar. And also another dimension is that, so what are the states of India are sharing border with Myanmar shall be given priority. Right from Arunachal Pradesh to the Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram are sharing border with Myanmar. So kindly note that Assam is not sharing, Tripura is not sharing border with Myanmar. Another dimension is that the Rakhine state, which is under discussion right now, so is also not sharing directly border with Indian northeastern states. Though the Myanmar is sharing, the Rakhine is one of the state of Myanmar government, it is not directly sharing border with northeastern states. So these are the aspects you have to keep it in mind in prelims perspective. Now there are two important rivers here that has to be underscored. So that is the Kaladan. Kaladan river, which is originating in the central region of Mizoram and emptying in Bay of Bengal at the Sitaway port. And the Indian government is taken the Kaladan multimodal project with the help of the Myanmar government. So that is one of the very important point has to be noted. And another river is that North River. North River is an international boundary between the Bangladesh and Myanmar. So here our discussion, that is the Rakhine state, these Rohingyas are crossing into the Bangladesh by crossing this North River. So here these rivers has to be kept in mind. Now coming to the Rohingya crisis. Who are these Rohingyas? So Rohingyas are largely, mainly the Muslim minority in a Buddhist majority nation, that is a Myanmar. So they are the ethnically different. So very ethnic diverse group. So mainly known as a Muslim minority. Also composes other religion citizens like Hindus. It is an ethnic group. Also the official stance is that the Rohingya ethnic group doesn't exist in the Myanmar. So that is the official statement by the Myanmar government. And instead they are referred to as a Bengali. So they are referring this Rohingyas as a Bengali, a rhetorical linkage to the foreign land. And Burma doesn't recognize Rohingyas as citizens, rendering them stateless and limiting their access to the public service. This is a very basic identity, basic difference, basic on which the Myanmar government, the military, the Buddhist, majority Buddhists are discriminating the Rohingyas. they never ever recognized these Rohingyas as citizens of the Burma, and also their culture, though similar to the cultural aspects of the Myanmar citizens, they never recognized, and these citizens are branded as foreigners, and there is no right for them to live in the Rakhine state of the Myanmar. So that is the fundamental root cause for the entire Rohingya crisis. So now coming to the ARSA versus military. What is the ARSA? ARSA is known as Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, so which was been active since 2016, claiming to be fight for democratic Muslim state of Rohingya. This Rohingyas, so that is the Arakan. Once there was, historically, Arakan was a place, and Arakan is known for the kingdom of Arakan. So now the kingdom place now become the battleground for the ARSA versus military. And the recent violence begins since 2017, that is August 2017, the violence has become a very, very bloodshed violence. The recent violence began when ARSA attacked the police post in Myanmar, northern Rakhine state, and in response, the military retaliated indiscriminately with the help of the local Buddhist majority, so that they warned the villagers. Almost 170 villages were completely fled from the Rakhine state. Now they are flooding to Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Thailand and India. And it is a very fit example. And even the United High Commission for Refugees so noted that it is a very textbook example of ethnic cleansing. You can understand the quantum of crisis that is going on in Myanmar and the people's problems with respect to this military exercise, unmindful discriminate firing of this military. So I could say that almost 7 lakh people were fled from this Rakhine state. So you might be knowing that the Mediterranean crisis, so here the Mediterranean crisis, the total number of people were involved is about 1,30,000. Here the quantum of crisis is about 5,000. I mean the 5 times of the Mediterranean crisis. But what is the international response? So you might be knowing that the Mediterranean crisis, how the global community has responded, how the global media has given the priority. But here the crisis is also about the 5 times of the Mediterranean crisis. But the response by the global community as well as the global media is very, very limited. So that has to be corrected. So, and I could say that it is one of the worst form of the humanitarian crisis in the history of the Myanmar history since 1970s. Now, what is the India's response? So, India's response is also very limited. So, frankly, India's response is very limited, and our response is also came under a very severe criticism. And in order to curtail this severe criticism, Indian government has launched Operation Insania, that is a humanitarian assistance to the Bangladesh by providing relief material to the Rohingyas. And it was estimated that about 40,000 Rohingya refugees live in India, and Indian government is branding these Rohingya refugees as an illegal migrant. Kindly note this. Indian government view is that these are the illegal migrants wants to expel on the grounds of national security. So the basis for this branding them as illegal migrants and wants to expel on the grounds of national security is that, so one of the reason is the religion aspect, and also that it was harmed by the recent report of this Amnesty International report. So it came into the conclusion that based on the report that ARSA has committed a serious human rights abuses against the Hindus in northern Rakhine state. So this is also one of the reasons for India's government reaction. And also technically, India is not a party to the UN Refugee Convention. So that's why we are not bound to providing the shelter to these refugees. So what needs to be done? So the immediate response, the ongoing efforts has to be aggravated. So right from the Operation Insania, the relief material by the Indian government has to be the quantum of relief material to the Bangladesh in order to provide the basic facility to the Rohingyas has to be increased. And also the international programs like the United Nations World Food Program has to be supported so that at least basic facilities would be secured. And also we have to fix the crimes committed by the military as well as ARSA. So besides ending this indiscriminate violence against the Rohingyas itself on the homeland. So that the Myanmar would be given aid and support. So we should not criticize. At the same time, though we can criticize the Myanmar government failure, so here the need of the day is to, we have to support the Myanmar government so in the form of aid and support, so that the repatriation of this Rohingya refugees would be taken back. India needs to address the security concerns. So we are saying that by providing shelters, there is a concern with respect to the national security, but it has to be determined in a fair and free manner, so that any persons who are threat to the national security, so remaining people would be given shelter, so other people would be expelled back. So Bangladesh, already we have an agreement with Bangladesh. Bangladesh and Myanmar recently concluded the deal, so that whoever left the Rakhine state might be repatriated in the near future. Though we have a deal, but the deal still so not implemented. The crux of the deal is that so every day about 300 these refugees would be repatriated back to the Myanmar in next 2 years. This deal has to be implemented without any delay in a letter and spirit. So with this we are closing the session. Thank you.